Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. As promised, we're going to look at the main track here of Little Guitars by Van Halen, and Eddie is throwing everything at us in this one. It is quite the challenge to get through this thing. Lots of different techniques. Got a lot of explaining to do with this tuning and this capo and all this good stuff. But before I get into it, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Ring the notification bell so you know it's a new video. You can like and comment on the lessons. You can watch the lessons all the way through. It really, really helps when you do that. And if you truly want to support what I do here on YouTube, the best way to do it is to join my Guitar Academy. And you're going to see a link to that in the description below. My Guitar Academy contains all of my guitar courses, from complete beginner courses to more advanced courses on technique, improvisation, ear training, theory, guitar tone, you name it. I go live every Saturday with just Academy members and kind of a live video stream. So I can answer any questions you have every week. We even have live courses and stuff too. So there's a lot going on there. So please come check it out. So let's jump into this track. So what I have to do to recreate this song is called Little Guitars for a reason, because Eddie was using a miniature Les Paul copy guitar. Now, since this is a shorter scale guitar, it's a little guitar, the tuning to make it play in standard tuning is actually a minor third higher than a standard guitar. So you basically, the high E string was actually a G string. So that's what Eddie's playing on for this. So for us, if you don't have one of those mini guitars, or like a 3/4 scale guitar, something that you can tune up, which I assure most people do not, we have to make do and use a capo to recreate it. So that's what I'm doing here. So what it's actually in is in drop D tuning. So we still, if you take a standard tuned guitar, take the below E string and tune it down a whole step to D. All right, now once you're in that tuning, then put a capo at the 3rd fret. And you have the tuning that you need for all the way through little guitars here. All right, so now, if that explains it, let's now start with this little intro. So a little single note riff that he's doing. It's mostly single notes. He's hitting a lot of that's Michael Anthony that's adding that underneath. So not all those hits that you hear are actually being done by Eddie. So we're going to start with this. Now I've seen people slide, which just sounds really close to that too. But if you see Eddie play it live, he plays it like that. So he does pull-ups and hammers back on. And now to the very end, there is a quick little slide in there. So we'll talk about that when we get there. So we're going to start with this. So I'm going to call out the notes like it's in front of the capo. So this is like 3rd fret in front of the capo. 2, 3, 2. Back, hammer back on. To 3. Slide up to 5. Then pull off 2 to 0. So that's the main riff, and then he just ends it a little bit different. So it's kind of like this, 3, 2, 3, 0 on the A string, but he's gonna add the low string in there as well. So you kind of, whenever you're hitting those, just like that. So when you slid up to 5, you're hitting that 5 twice. Then, okay, now the second time through is not as complex. So that's going to be starting with this pull off again, hammer back on, slide back up to 5, pick that twice, pull off 2 to 0 on the A, and then we have this. So what he does here is he plays the 3rd fret there on the A, at the same time he does it, he hits the low, I'm going to call it the E string. I know it's kind of tuned down to D and then put a capo on, but we'll just call it the E. So you hit that low string with it. And then pick that note, 3rd fret on the A. And then slowly pull up, pull down, I guess. It's up in pitch. The 2nd fret. And then back to 3 a couple times. So we hit this. All right, then he starts the riff again. And then here he goes kind of. So it's more like 3, 2, 3 there on the A. You got a couple hits on the low E. So we kind of like. So he's kind of keeping that on the low E. And then we have the last time through. Well, we're kind of same riff. And use that bend. So it's kind of like the same as the 2nd time through, but we're going to go like that after it instead of that. And here's what I'm doing a slide now. 3, 2, 3. So this. And then the riff one more time. Now this last time I'm playing it sounds like he doesn't hit that 5 twice. He just slides it once. So all together for that intro, I know it's a little bit weird, this riff right here, just because it's kind of changing how he's adding things to it. All right, now from here, we're going to move up here. Now, for a lot of this song, I think it's going to be easier, just like we did in the intro, when we were dealing with this capo madness, that when I'm calling out the notes to play, I'm not going to be referring them to the in front of the capo, how it's usually written in music. I'm actually just going to call it the exact fret on the guitar that it's at. So here's like the 8th fret, and not making you calculate, 5 frets above the capo all the time. So I'm going to try to do that more than anything. When we're down here right near the capo, that wouldn't make as much sense. We can just still call this the 1st fret, but I'll let you know basically what I'm doing. So right now, this opening part, that kind of stuff, we're far enough above it. I'll just call out the actual fret for these parts. All right, it'll make it easier. Trust me. So we're going to start here with this. All right, so this is to get it just like he does it. I don't know if he's doing these bass notes intentionally or he's just going down and hitting either the open A or the open low E string, whatever he's doing. But we're going to start with here, the 8th fret there on the high E, 11th fret there on the B, and 10th fret there on the G. So you play those and then just move that note on the B string back to the 10th fret. And then you can hit the open A string twice. And then we're going to go to this chord. It's the 8th fret there across the B and the high E, and the 9th fret there on the G. So then when you hit that chord, you're going to hit the A string once and the low E string twice. And then come back and hit this chord again. And then A once and low E once. So we had this. It's better in like that. And then from there, we have this, that same chord, and then you play the 10th fret there on the G instead of 9. And then pull back off to 9. And then hit the low E string once. So I'm just trying to get these bass notes exact. That's what makes it hard. It's a lot to think about. So this. All right, and then we're going to take it back here. So that's going to be the 6th fret here, 9th on the high E, 9th on the B, 8th on the G. hit that chord twice. And then it's the same thing we did here. Just move the note of the B string down 1 fret. And then here. And here we're gonna play the 6th fret here on the B and the high E. So it's the same thing. Here. So from here, when you get to this chord, you're gonna hit the open A once, and then the open E once, and then back hit the chord again. And then the open A twice, once, and the low E twice. So we had this. So that was this. After this, that's when you do the open A and the open E. Sorry. And then when you get to this, then you do the open A and the open E twice. So just like that. And then we have this. So that's going to be the 6th fret there on the G, 8th fret there on the B, and then 6th fret there on the G and the D, G and the B. So all together. Then we come back up top, and it's a little bit different this time. There's more pausing, and it's all the bass notes are on the low E string. So we have this. So that's the same chord. Same chords up top. Except now I just hit the low E twice. And then come and hit that next chord again. And there's a little pause there. So we have this. Like that. And then back to the chord again. And then hit 1 hit on the low E string. And then that same move we did on the first time leaving those chords. So we have this. I'm sorry. Just like that. And then we're going to finish this section. Same 2 chords here. Remember, hitting this one twice first. And then here, the bass notes are going to start with the open A twice. And then that same chord we go to here, the 6th fret, on across the B and the high E, and the 7th fret on the G. And then the bass notes after that are going to be open A and open E twice. So open A once, open E twice. And then the same ending. So all together, we got this. All right, now at this part, I'm going to refer to this section, since we're right down here at the capo. It'd be weird me calling this the 4th fret. So I'll just kind of call the notes out how they're compared to the capo here. So we're gonna have to mix this up a little bit just to make things reasonable to understand here. So we have this. All right, so that is going to start here with this 0, 2, 3 on the A string. Then you're going to pick the open D and open G. And then down to 2 on the A. And cross that open D and G again. Then that's 2, 3, 2, 1 on the A. Open G, open D. And then do basically the same thing, just move everything up 1 string. So. All right, from there, we're gonna play the 3rd fret there in front of the capo at the low E, A, and the D. Just kind of strum all the way, strum across to the B string. Kind of a little flamenco-y thing there. Down and down. And then you pick across the high E, B, G, D. And then hit that chord a couple more times so we have this. And then we're going to go to this power chord at the second fret off above the capo off the A string. So second fret there on the A, fourth on the D and the G. And I get a quick little down on that. And the same thing, kind of pick across the top of the strings. And then from there, we're going to go to open A, third fret there on the D, fifth fret there on the G. Hit the open A a couple times and just take that up 2 frets. And then take the note on the G string, down 1 fret. All right, and then we get to the verse. Now, this verse part here is what makes most people bail on this song, because it's really hard to get that really staccato punch and those little intervals that Eddie's doing here. So when you see people play this, and there's a lot of people playing this obviously online because it's a very fun song, I don't really see any of them, of course I didn't look at every video, I haven't seen any of them really play it exactly with the same fingerings that Eddie uses. And I think it's the fingerings that he's using which makes all the difference. So when we want to make something like... So what he's doing, it's very, very odd. So we know that a lot of times, so Eddie uses multiple ways of holding the pick. So it's probably his main way is using his thumb and his middle finger. And you'll see him when he's playing the other parts of the song, he switches back to that standard technique. But when he gets to this part, the finger picking part, what he actually does is he holds his pick in a more conventional way. He moves it back over to be held between the thumb and the index. And you would think that means he's going to be using the middle finger and the ring finger for the finger picking. But he doesn't. He still uses the index and the middle finger. So even though the index finger is holding the pick, he is actually using just his index and middle fingers. Now, it's this what I think makes this a lot easier to play, because when you are using these 2 fingers for the finger picking, it moves your hand, your palm more down. So after every, you see his hand when he's doing it, it's kind of bouncing, because he can put his palm there on the strings back there, pick the notes, and come down and mute it. Now, if you're using these 2 fingers, your middle and your ring, which is probably a more traditional way of doing it, your palm has to come up as well too, which makes it harder to mute those strings. You have to really kind of put your hand in a weird position. So I don't know if Eddie just did this intuitively, but he is still picking with those 2 fingers, but he's holding his pick with is still keeping his pick ready against his index finger. But that allows him to really bring his palm down. So you want to start just with this D chord. See how the pick is still there? I can still those hits. And just practice that move. He's playing like, just holds a regular D chord in front of the capo, and then you're going to pick the B and the G, high E string, and then come back down and you're muting. And then you go over to the B and the G string, and then the same thing in the D and the G. And then when he has to hit a chord hit, he already has his pick right there. So he does not use his ring finger and pinky fingers at all, except for maybe muting back here. And I think you're going to have better luck getting that really staccato sound much easier by doing it like Eddie did it. So anyway, so let's take a look at the actual part. So I'm going to start that across a D string, a D chord. And just hit the low string. You don't have to hit that yet. Just the kind of the bottom strings. So what he does is the pattern is what we just talked about. You pick those top two strings, then the G and the B, and then the G and the D. And then you're going to take the same thing, do the same picking, but you're going to lift up the note on the high E string. So with this. And then what you're going to do is pick the B and the high E together, and then put that second fret back down again. So we kind of have a little melody going. So we just add a little extra note in there, open string, and then pick across the D again. So we have this. And then back to the high E string, the note, so still holding this D chord, but the note on the high E would be an open, and then 3, 2, so with this. So you just got a little melody. After you get down to the 2, come over to the G and the B. So with this. All right, and then it takes it to a C chord. So it's just kind of, you play the 3rd fret there in front of the capo on the high E and the B, and then the 3rd fret there on the A. And just hit that, hitting the open G string in there too. And then you're gonna pick. Now that picking is a little bit simpler. We're gonna start with just the B and the high E, and then the G and the B, and then it's just the G string by itself. So this. Just do that twice. And then we have this. Let that last one ring. So we have just like the melody note is 3 on the high E, 2, 0, and then you get to the B and the G there. So, and then when you go back to the D is when you do the quick little down, up, down. All right, and then we have this. So this one's a little bit easier to understand here too. I'm playing that chord we did in the intro, 3rd fret there in front of the capo, across the A, D, and the low E. So you kind of do that, a little same hit. And now what I'm gonna do when I go and do the melody, it's just all kind of really picking the G and the B string. So you hit the open strings first, and while you're doing that, you can move these 2 fingers over. And then you play these 2 together, and then, so wait. And then you're gonna pick the D and the A. And then come back to the B and G string. And that one's kind of like a couple of muted hits on the, a few on the open strings. And then let it ring. Hammer on the 1st fret there on the B, 2nd fret there on the G. So with this. And again. So that's kind of the second half of it is a little bit easier. And then we get to what I think is like just pretty much just the pre-chorus. Looks like it's. So the picking kind of varies throughout the song on this, so you can kind of just pick anything across that you really want. But we have the open A, still kind of comparing everything to the capo here. So this is open, second fret there on the D, open G, third fret there on the B, open high E, and then you're going to kind of pull off to, so there's kind of a melody. So I kind of just think about that melody. Then 3, 2, 0, and then hammer back on, 2, 3. And I'm just kind of picking across it and just keeping the other notes around it kind of going. If you're, you know, obviously if you're this far into this and you're getting it, you're advanced enough to know what I'm kind of doing. It's nothing, no kind of pattern to it. Get back down to 3, 2. And so that's pretty much all the pre-chorus is, kind of messing around. Just that kind of chord shape and that little melody moving around on the B string. And then we get to the chorus, looks like this. When it gets to this chord again, it's back to the verse. So this chorus is pretty simple, and once again, Eddie plays it a little bit differently than I typically see it. It's not a huge difference here, but you see a lot of people will have the open D, open G, and open B, and then just one note held on the low E string there at the 5th fret above the capo. What Eddie does is he doubles the open D string with also playing the 5th fret on the A. So that, therefore, he still has the open D, open G, open B, but just the 5th fret there on the low E and the A. And he kind of thickens up the chord. Also makes it a lot easier to play because you don't have to use the A string. So here, kind of a more simple part. It's got a melody that's moving up on the B string. So without the rhythm first, is this chord across all the open strings, open B, then 2nd fret, 3rd fret of B. Again. The last time it slides up to 5. So with this. So it's just kind of that straight kind of rhythm, and then he'll throw in that little thing in there. So you got like it's really staccato, and then at the end, the last time, he kind of lets them ring. And then it goes back to that verse riff. So it goes back through the verse, and then when he gets there, Dave starts coming in with his vocals again. So, but it's basically the same verse part coming out of that. It's just there's just no vocals over the first half of it. And then the same pre-chorus chord. And then we have the chorus. The second time through the chorus, he does something a little bit different there. It's a little bit longer, and there's like a little variation on the melody up top. So it looks like this. And then we get to the solo section. So that is kind of the same. And then when we get to this part, it starts the same. Basically through so the 3 times through the chords that that much is the same. But then we have this. So just gonna throw a little wrench in there. So after this, we're gonna come back. The melody note's we're gonna stay on this D chord here, and there's just gonna play the melody note. Remember, if I have the melody note on the high E string, we're still picking the B string with it. So 3 on the high E, 2, and then open twice. So. And then, so that's, you hold it out a little bit, and then back to 2, and then down to 3, and just move basically everything over one string. Hit that, so like this. So, I'm sorry. Like this. And then we have this, which is now still keeping around a D chord, open E, 2, 3, and then pick that note on the B string spot itself. And then we're gonna end it like this. So it's mostly just a melody note that's moving on the high E string around a D chord. We don't change the D. So we had that. After that, it goes stretch up to the 5th fret above the capo, then 3, 2, 3, 0. So all together for that. And then back to the chorus stroke. And then there's a little ending for the chorus there that goes into the solo section, which is 2, 3, I'm sorry, 0, 2, 3, 2, 0 on the beat. And then we get to that pre-chorus chord. So basically the solo section, I'm really gonna be focusing more on the underlying, the kind of, that kind of stuff underneath the solo. He doesn't do the slide thing live. If you want to know what's going on the slide, I'm not a slide player, especially with these strings so low, it's almost impossible, but the slide is from the 15th fret down the G, and then it's kind of slide it up to the 15th fret on the A, and then play 17 on the G. So it's kind of doing a lot of that. So it's just kind of doing a kind of a circle of that a little bit, and so I didn't really want to bring out a slide for that because I suck at slide guitar anyway. But he does plays what I'm going to show you here there. So we're gonna start with that same pre-chorus. And then he goes to this 5th fret there on the low E in front of the capo, open D, then play 2, 3 on the B. And then kind of pick it across from the high E to the B. So this is, and then 3, 2, 0 on the B. So it's really those melodies you're looking for. And then back to that same pre-chorus chord. And he kind of picks it across it and always ends it going 3, 2 on the B to the open G, and then back to that. But then he kind of ends. So it's just kind of. Hit open G and B. He kind of builds this part, and this is what he does to do live. He kind of builds out those arpeggiated parts, open G and B, and then the 2nd fret there on the B with the open G, and then up to the 3rd fret there. And when you get to that 3rd fret, you start adding that high E string in there and just ignoring the G now. And then just move up. So you always have like that. Actually, you still have the open G with that 3rd fret there on the B, and then as you get up here to the 5th fret in front of the capo, we had just open high E with it. Now I'm going to start calling out the actual frets here because we're getting too far from the capo to do the calculations easily. So it's just the 8th fret, 10, 11, still on the B string, still got the high E with it. It's 13, 15, 17, 18. 13, 15, 17, 18. And then it takes you back to the verse again, so just back to... And the same pre-chorus. And... So in this last chorus, he keeps going with the riff, just going between D and G. And you'll hear some overdubs come in, playing the D chord and that's with that. So you can probably just stick with the main part if you don't have a second guitar. So those 2 chords are ringing over this part. And then at the end, he just kind of continues just between that D and the C chord over until he hits that C chord and just kills it at the end of the song. All right, so we have gotten through it. I know it's challenging. It's got some weird techniques in it. But Eddie was a genius, so it's gonna, most of his stuff is gonna give you a hard time. So you just gotta really work at it, work on that muting, and try to look at Eddie actually play this live, and you'll be able to pick up these little things that he does with his picking hand and how the picking technique he uses for that section. It really makes it a lot easier to play it the way he does. And he usually finds the easiest ways to do things very intuitively. He didn't overcomplicate things for himself at all. So, and that's a sign of a true genius, that somebody can do that. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.